The feeling is absolutely incredible. Like nothing is better than having your arms around your teammates and wearing the USA jersey and singing the national anthem. But
what's up, Kings fans? We are back with another episode of Tradin Jabs, but this time we're going gold. Joining me is a pair of my childhood friends, but more importantly, members of the 2018 Team USA Women's Hockey Olympic gold medal team and members of the 2022 Women's Team USA hockey team. Ladies, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Well, let's start with the journey that has gotten you guys to where you are now, and that being in Beijing on the eve of your guys' first game. Where did your process to begin for 2022 begin after you guys won the gold in 2018?
It started, I guess, after 2018. We had a little bit of time to kind of enjoy that and celebrate it a little bit, which was great. And then I would say probably within like that 6 months afterwards, it kind of like resets for the next quad. And in that time, it's just kind of like camps, different games, tournaments, world championships, postponed world championships, more camps, more COVID tests. And then this year, I think it was in June, they announced the residency team. So we started, I think, with 28 players, and then they got that number down to 23 by the announcement, which was, I think, January 1st. So it's been long. I mean, it's crazy to think it was only 4 years ago we were in South Korea. It feels a lot, I feel like, closer, at least for me. So 4 years that flew by for sure.
Dani, Kelly obviously mentioned COVID and the postponements, and you guys have been representatives of Team USA and Team USA hockey for, almost a decade now. What has COVID been like in terms of dealing with it and having to deal with the stress of tournaments being postponed or moved and all the tests and things that you have had to deal with in the last, 2 years?
Yeah, I think we've been like a little bit more on the fortunate side in terms of like COVID cases and whatnot. But I just think overall, like the past 2 years is definitely like opportunities for us to get in games has been fairly minimal, it's already pretty minimal for us to begin with. Being on the national team, we don't really have that many opportunities to come together as a team and showcase our skills. So having that dwindle down even more, obviously got to be a little bit stressful, especially when we're trying to vie for a spot on an Olympic team at that point. So we just really had to rely on each other. I think we had a really good group in Minnesota that trained together and our other skills coaches, and just hope that everything that we were doing in the off season and training hopefully transferred over into the few games that we did get to play. But this year's been great, and being able to kind of practice in that full team atmosphere again has been pretty amazing so far.
Well, you mentioned some of the games that you guys have been playing throughout the last year or two in ramping up for the Olympics. You and Canada have had a back and forth series that you guys have been competing in. Unfortunately, a few of them have been canceled, but in that showcase, how has that been able to prepare you guys against, you and Canada being the top two teams in the world? Kelly, I'll start with you there.
Yeah, those games could be 3 years away from Olympics. They could be months away, and the intensity of them is always the same. They're some of the most fun games to play in. So at least the games we do get, a lot of the times they're against Canada, which I think we bring out the best in each other. But there's really nothing else that prepares you like playing in those games. And you always hope to play more of them and also play other teams too, just because different teams give you different looks. But those games are so fun. And I always, say to people that can't go, like it's like playoff hockey, but not in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, Dani, Kelly mentions the intensity in terms of like intel on Team Canada. You and Canada, Team USA and Canada are, the two top teams, on paper at least. How much intel or information do you get to learn about them, even though it's not at the Olympics yet?
I think, like Kelly said, just the amount that we play each other and that even throughout the years, when it's not an Olympic year, they're pretty much the only team that we really get to see these days. So we get a lot of intel on them, but I think just like the way we play our games definitely is like very similar in general too. So, you're getting a hard fought battle each time, and and I think we know too much about each other at this point, so that makes for some fun opportunities on the TV, I guess.
Yeah, the rivalry is at a premium, that's for sure. In preparation, we've gone through a few of the different things that you guys had to do to get ready for the Olympics, but you guys met up in California at the Kings facility and headquarters to get a few practices as a team under your belt. What was that experience like, getting ready in California and kind of getting ready as a team and being together for the first time in a while?
Yeah, we actually been able to.
Go ahead,
Kelly. Go ahead. No, you go. You go.
Danny, we'll start with you.
Okay, start with me. We've been together for a while, but we definitely had our issues with COVID in the past month. So it's felt really nice for us to all kind of get here together as a team. And we've kind of taken this year in increments. And this was one of the places, obviously, we all wanted to get to and together as a group. So it's felt nice to be here and finally get everyone on the ice again together as a team. And then we just kind of have to keep moving forward and just keep with this group that we have. But it's felt great to get on the ice. And obviously there was still a lot of stress before traveling and the long travel day to China. But we kind of overcame that, and they're just excited to kind of get the games going and get everything rolling.
Kelly, is there anything you want to add?
It was a lot warmer getting off that plane in LA than it was getting on in Minnesota. I'll say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys, and we'll get to the 2018 game in just a minute here, but for this Olympics, you go in being line mates. The next question I have here will be about the Minnesota life and us being raised together in terms of hockey life. But you guys have played against each other growing up. You're now on the same team for the second Olympics. What is the chemistry like, as line mates and ultimately as, friends who have been together for quite a long time? Kelly, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it's pretty special. I think, when we were younger, we'd been playing against each other in hockey and in soccer for years, like since we were 9, let's say. And then to be, kind of throughout high school, I feel like towards the end, playing in some like off-season teams together. But then really being teammates starting in college and then getting to play together on a line, Dani's senior year, my junior year. I feel like it's just been really fun kind of to grow up with each other and become closer as like the years have gone on. And then on the ice, like it's super easy. And I think the one thing I really appreciate is how forgiving it is. So, we play a lot of high intensity, high stress moments. But knowing like, even if it's in practice, like if you make a mistake that, Dani's not going to get mad at me for it or hold it against me, or there's just a lot of trust. And I think that just makes it so much easier to play free and, ultimately be at our best together.
Yeah. Well, Dani, what gets under Kelly's skin. She obviously knows what gets under your skin. Where do you draw that fine line of being able to push each other to be the best without going over it?
I don't think we ever really go over it. And if she does go overboard for me, like I think I probably deserve it in that point. So or in that moment. But I know our first practice in LA, we were both apologizing pretty much the entire practice because we both decided afterwards it was probably one of the worst practices of our entire life. But the best thing was neither of us cared. We're like, you're fine. Like, I know you're not going to do that in a game. And if you do, like, that's why you have an entire team to back you up and recover for you. So definitely no love lost. I think we, like you said, having been together for so long, like we know what makes each other tick. And if she's angry and needs a couple seconds to cool off, like I give her those few moments and try not to say, hey, you'll be fine, because I know she doesn't enjoy that either. So
yeah, absolutely. And we've all seen it before, but Kelly's a high intensity person, but obviously means the best, right, Kelly?
Yeah, my communication's got a lot better though, so I've improved since high school. I will say that. Since
our high school days. So you guys were both standouts from young ages in hockey, and for me, obviously seeing Kelly, you firsthand at the same high school and Epinal St. Margaret's, and being how good you were, and then Dani, obviously seeing you just down the road at Blake was something special as well. But, for you each personally, when did you kind of realize like, okay, not only am I a good high school player, but maybe I can take this to college and maybe even make the Olympics? Kelly, I'll go with you to start with that one.
I feel like at every step, and even now, like people say like it's great, like you're going to be a 2-time Olympian, and like that's just wild. I feel like I never, even in high school, like going through the recruiting process, it wasn't till I think it was my sophomore year, one of our coaches was like, "Where do you want to go to college?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, where do you want to go? Because you could pretty much go wherever."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What? Like this makes no sense. Like, no, that's not right." And then even going into college, I feel like I entered with very little expectations on myself. I just wanted to play, be on the ice, and kind of take it from there. And I feel like every kind of step of my career, especially starting in high school, kind of just like taking it as it comes and trying to take every opportunity that I can and kind of run with it. And I felt like that leading up to 2018. I'd made my first national team that Worlds before, so it was March, April 2017. Less than a year away from the Olympics. So I feel like it all has kind of happened and feels very fast, even though now it's been obviously a while, but yeah, it doesn't always sit in right away, nor even 5-10 years down the line either.
Yeah. And for you, Dani, you were on national teams a little earlier than Kelly, but for you lighting it up, in high school and then on to college as well. And still to this day, where did that start to click with you?
I honestly think it's still the same. Like, I know when I talked to my parents, they never would have guessed that they would have collegiate athletes, let alone people who go on, like kids who go on further and play professionally and at an Olympic level is like absolutely crazy. And I think just like the positions that my parents helped put me in, I think too, and like the time that they put towards my training. But I honestly am like still shocked to this day whenever we get to come to the rink and pull on that jersey. And I think like we definitely wouldn't be where we are today if we didn't love it. And that's like the main thing is like I love it so much. And when I step out on the ice, pretty much everything else in the world kind of fades away. But I think maybe definitely in college is when I kind of felt like I had more of a chance, but nothing's ever for sure. And you just got to keep working hard. So things still aren't for sure always to this day. So
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned college, Dani, and you both went to the University of Minnesota. You were both teammates. You guys won back-to-back national championships in 2015 and 2016. How important was, the college experience, not only as, someone who's a Division I athlete, but in general for the social life and to be able to be successful academically and athletically? How much was that a part of your growth and, an impact on you today? Kelly, we'll go with you to start.
Yeah, I think, just talking about like the balance between school and sports, I think, one thing with any athlete, right, after they're done playing their sport, like what are you going to do next? You can't play your sport forever. And I feel like it, kind of helped put things in perspective for me too. Like, what do you really want to do? Leaving, we're fortunate, not every female athlete in college is as fortunate as we are to be able to leave and say, do we still want to play? Like, can we still play? Is there a place for us to still play? So in that way, like, I think just the preparation and understanding, like that's one benefit of being a female athlete is that you're taught from the moment you start college that, hey, what are you going to be when your sport's done? Because it could be in 4 years. I feel like whereas a lot of guys think, oh, I'm going to play pro, and they don't, but they think they're gonna. But then just with like the hockey aspect, I think we were so lucky at Minnesota to be like my first 2 years, our team was insane. Like, all of the Gophers the Gopher alum, so outside of Abby Murphy and Grace Elmichael, and then there's one more, Megan Bozek, who's older than us, but me, Dani, Hannah Brandt, Lee Steckline, and Amanda Kessel, we're all on that 2016 team. And then that 2015 was without Amanda Kessel. But and then there's others on that team that are all Americans that, could have, weren't being invited to camps at the time, or, really close, or in that top 40 group in the country. So it's just crazy to think about like the people that we're surrounded with. And I think practicing with those players day in and day out, it prepares you for what a national team practice is like, because you're not, none of us were getting to the national team and like, oh, we're used to being the best ones on our school team because there was like 8 best players.
Yeah. Danny, I mean, your experience of the U, I obviously have to assume was quite identical, but when you look back at the time and that experience, how do you, what were some of those moments that you stick out to?
Yeah, I think one of like the biggest things was and I know a lot of us probably say the same thing, but like didn't really know how to actually play a game of hockey until I got to college. And I know like for the majority of us, like everyone going to Minnesota and these top D1 schools, like you're the best player on your team. And I played center and like went around and did gosh knows what all over the ice just to try and get the puck on my stick. But did I actually know how to play D zone? Like, no, like those were a lot of the things that we were fortunate enough to learn at Minnesota. And we had some like pretty incredible coaches who taught us that. And JJ now is our coach here with the 2022 Olympic team. So that says a lot about him and how he taught us throughout the way too. So that's probably the biggest thing. And just like reiterating what Kelly said is for us, like for females in sports, like education was like the main thing. Like my parents, like being able to go play collegiately was exciting for them because I got to get a good education on top of like doing something else I loved. And I think we learn a lot throughout the way, and having games every weekend and practices and having to juggle school and just kind of trying to be the best in everything. It has taught us a lot, I think, as people. So will hopefully help us along the way after we're done playing hockey and have to figure out what we're going to do with the rest of our lives.
Yeah, well, earlier back there, Kelly, you mentioned life after college hockey, and you didn't know, what that next step was. Both of you are obviously at the top 1% of hockey players in the world for females, and you're both playing professional hockey. It first started with the NWHL, and it's now to the PWHPA. For your typical hockey fan or someone who might not know a ton about women's hockey, first, what exactly is the WPH or PWHPA, and then how can people get involved or see exactly what's going on when that league is on?
The Professional Women's Hockey Players Association is exactly that. It's a players association, so it's not technically a league. But in the way it acts is, this is a place for all the players that are part of it. There's players across the US and Canada, I think some Europeans that are involved as well. But it's just a place how can we provide games and training and support, whether that's through coaches, training environments, gym times, equipment needs, stuff like that we felt like there was maybe lacking in other places that, were available, other leagues. And it was really just us as players kind of putting our foot down to what we thought we deserved or what we think we deserve. Obviously, it's evolved over the last few years, and I think there were some really high hopes for it before COVID. Obviously, COVID's thrown a wrench in it, but even now, like when we're all at our Olympic training stuff, there are still PWHPA players and teams. There's a Minnesota group, a group in Toronto, a group in Calgary, a group in Montreal, and there's still showcases that happen. So I think actually the last one might have been on the NHL Network, which is pretty cool. So I think the best way to support is just go out, look at the website, see what's coming up, see if there's anything near you, buy some swag. I think there's some cool sweatshirts that kind of rival the WNBA sweatshirt. So yeah, it's pretty cool, and excited for kind of what the future has in store for it.
Yeah. And Danny, for someone who's obviously in the PWHPA, what is the life like for a professional women's hockey player throughout the year?
Yeah. So last year we had a team in Minnesota, which a lot of us were on, and we practiced pretty much like 4 days a week with each other. And then we have those showcases that Kelly was talking about where we were going to like different parts of the US and Canada and doing exactly what it says and showcasing women's hockey and being able to show people who maybe have never seen women play, because that's kind of where a lot of the places we went to could come out and see what we have to show. And I know everyone who came, and like some people who had never seen it before were like, oh, I didn't know like the game was this fast and this physical. And so it's just being able to honestly just like get ourselves out there so people can like see what we have to show and what we're worthy of. And it's pretty much like any other professional league, I guess. But unfortunately, still some of our other teammates and players have other jobs as well. So that's like kind of what we wanted this league to kind of grow into. And unfortunately, a lot of girls too coming out of college have nowhere to go and just go and get normal jobs when, like Kelly said, they're all Americans and maybe didn't get asked to a national team camp and all of a sudden have to stop doing the thing they love just because there's no outlet for them to do it. So that's like really what we're trying to continue to grow and make it so that women and young girls can grow up and aspire to be professional hockey players and have that be their sole responsibility.
Well, no question, credit to you both for being advocates for the game for women's hockey and everything you guys have been a part of in terms of pushing that limit and continuing to fight for the right thing. But I want to go back to the 2018 championship gold medal game in the Olympics in Pyeongchang. And for me, you look back at, historical games that you always remember, and no question you have the 1980 gold medal game. But in recent history, I put that gold medal game when you guys won in the shootout against Canada to win the gold medal right up there with like the 2010 men's gold medal game. And then, kind of that Russia TJ Sochi shootout win for Team USA in Russia in 2014. For you guys looking back at that, and Dani, I want to start with you. How do you wrap your head around how amazing of a game that was and the emotions that you guys went through, being up a goal, then down a goal, and then obviously winning it in a shootout?
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, like during the game, our emotions were actually pretty level-headed, which was pretty incredible. I know our parents and fans and everyone else was freaking out, but I think that's what made it so great is like we trusted in our game and our team and just had this like peaceful feeling, I think, throughout the bench. I know Kelly's like made comments about that before too. So it wasn't as much of an emotional roller coaster for us, I don't think, but I know it's tough being helpless when you're in the stand and you can't do anything, but the feeling is absolutely incredible. Like nothing is better than having your arms around your teammates and wearing the USA jersey and singing the national anthem. But I think a lot of us would agree that it didn't really sink in like the reach it had until we came back to the US and we had an Olympic tour and went to different places throughout the country. And LA was actually one of the first places we came to, and went to some NHL games, and like everyone was like stopping us and telling us like how late they stayed up to watch the game, and the noise throughout the rinks and stuff that we went to and we were announced and everything was like pretty incredible. So we definitely didn't really feel the effects of it, I think, until we got back to the States, and it was pretty incredible for a while, and I know people still talk about it till this day. So it's great to see that game and us had that big of an impact.
Yeah, well, no question. I mean, I remember watching it from college in California and being as nervous as probably your parents were. But Kelly, Dani mentioned the impact that it had, and you guys saw, how beloved you were. You guys stopped in LA. I think the first place you publicly showed up was at the Kings game, and we obviously got to hang out a bit there, getting to put on that gold medal, which was awfully heavy for my neck. But Kelly, for you, how much of it is a driving factor to be able to do that again? And, knowing the impact that you had, and 4 years later to be able to potentially have that on another group of young players.
It's crazy. Like Dani said, we didn't really know kind of what we were going to see on the other side. And I think immediately after the game, so much of it was for each other, for ourselves, for the players, that were in the program between 1998, which was the first gold medal that Team USA won, and 2018, which was the second, all the players that didn't get to accomplish that. So when we left, it was crazy, like to see how many people wanted to meet us, wanted to see us, wanted to be a part of the experience as well. And I remember Angela Ruggiero, who actually got to hand out our gold medals as a part of the IOC committee. She just encouraged us. She's like, share it with everyone. Let as many people touch your medal as you can. Like that's what it's all about. And I would guess 5,000 people have touched, held, some have asked to kiss it. I say, sure, if you want that many people's germs. But it's pretty special. And then obviously, like, even now, like you said, like the young girls that have seen that, and we always say, if you can see it, you can be it. So it's pretty cool.
That kind of leads me right into the last question I have here. And first off, thanks for letting me hopefully be the first one to touch it when you got to LA. But, you know, hockey in Minnesota is obviously the mecca, and it's growing fast both in men's and women's. But for here in California, it's really taken off among the youth levels. And a lot of that stems from the success of the men's, you know, NHL teams here over the last, you know, decade and a half in the Stanley Cups. But women's hockey as well is really exploding with, you know, the LA Lions, which is the youth league, an organization here in the Los Angeles area. For anyone watching that's, you know, looking up for inspiration or wants to become a hockey player past, you know, youth hockey, you know, what's some advice that you have for someone in California that wants to be a part of women's hockey? Kelly, I'll start with you for this one.
Yeah, I would just say, like, obviously, I think compared to Minnesota, like you said, like, opportunities might be few and far in between, but I think just take every opportunity you can. And I think enjoying it, making it fun. It can be scary to try something new and to, you know, maybe it means being on a boys team if you're a girl. And me and Dani both grew up playing on boys teams until basically high school. So, you know, being okay kind of putting yourself out there because it will, you know, benefit you in the future, and just enjoy it, the experience, because you never know where it's going to take you. And maybe someday you can go back to, you know, California or Florida, wherever your home is. It's a non-traditional hockey area, and you get to be the inspiration for the next generation.
Dani, you as well?
Yeah, I think, especially at a young age, I think a lot of times kids now like take things really seriously, or you're a squirt. And I mean, obviously everyone, I think me and Kelly even dreamt of playing in the NHL. Like that's pretty much where we were at when we were younger too, which is why we're trying to create that league for young girls. But I dreamt of it. We talked about how we never knew it was an option. So like, I just love doing it. And I was out there having fun, and it was a little easier for us in Minnesota because we have some ponds to go on in the winter. But whether that is, like, we played street hockey all the time, and we like used to go to just like pick up at the rink or free skate and do whatever. So I think just like finding ways to still make it fun, so that later on down the road, when you're like us and we're 26 and 27 and still playing, like, we still find that joy in it, and it hasn't gotten to be too overwhelming, I think is a pretty important piece of being successful as well.
Well, two phenomenal answers from two phenomenal inspirations and two phenomenal women. Thank you both, Dani Cameranesi and Kelly Pannek, for joining Tradin Jabs, and best of luck in Russia. Best of luck in China. Best of luck in China with the Olympics. Go get the gold.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.